Welcome to another edition of Treasure Tuesday. I am super excited to share today's video with you. I got 2 letters this past week, synchronistically. I've never been asked this question before. 2 different people asked the exact same question, and basically that question is, how do I stop being a mean bitch to the people I love the most? So if you're somebody who has struggled with like this attitude problem, or just suddenly this part of you coming out and attacking those you love, this bitchy side coming out without you really wanting it to be there, then keep watching. This is a super key topic and we're gonna go fairly deep with it, although it's a lot deeper than we can cover in this video. I want you to imagine for this video the metaphor of a porcupine, okay? Picture a porcupine with all of these spikes and like really hard exterior, right? But when you look more closely at the porcupine, it has these really sweet eyes and its energy is actually really vulnerable. Just think of that metaphor and think of the outside of the porcupine is like this mean, bitchy kind of facet, you know, this kind of persona of hard and bitchy and fierce. While inside there is this very vulnerable part of the self. So before we go into the whole bitch facet, we need to understand why it is in place. So I'm going to share with you this why, what, how method. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, why is this attitude problem in my life? And when you start to unravel that, you'll discover that that's just the surface, like the porcupine skin. What's really going on is what's beneath the surface of the mean bitch, which is typically a sense of powerlessness. It could be something like you depend on your husband or somebody else financially, and you feel bound to them. So you kind of have to appease them in order to make sure that your basic needs are met. This is very subtle and subconscious. When you start to dig in, and we're going to do an exploration process in this video so you can like really uncover it, there's typically some vulnerability or pain inside, a sense of powerlessness that's not being addressed. So every time that pain gets triggered, the mean bitch, you can think of like this protective coat or jacket, just like the porcupine has that thing. It just like comes out as any time that vulnerability gets prodded, okay? Because that sense of powerlessness doesn't know what else to do. It's like a baby. A baby is totally powerless and depends on its parents to feed it, clothe it, protect it, nurture it, right? It's the same with what's underneath the mean bitch. There is a very vulnerable part of the self that needs protection. The problem with the mean bitch is that it's like the shadow side of power. So there's true power, like true empowerment, and there's false power. Much of our world today is functioning in false power, like 5-year-olds. And I don't say this with judgment to you. I have this, you know, I've had to go through this in my own life as well. And I see this pattern when it comes up, and I address it in the way I'm going to share in this video. But if you look at it, nations, countries, religions, families, they are just fighting from this place of victimhood and false power. And ultimately, anytime somebody's attacking somebody else, it's because there's a deep sense of powerlessness inside. So the question is, how do we rise into a more empowered reality? So I really love this question because, you know, the question of what to do about this mean bitch, how to stop being a mean bitch, because really what you're asking is, how do I step into true power versus false power, right? How do I stop attacking those I love, or even strangers, and be coming from this place of such clarity, sovereignty, and empowerment that I don't need to lash out at anyone because I'm living in congruence with who I am, what I'm about, and what my needs are. The main first point here is to just be awake and aware of why that is in place, why the mean bitch is in place. It is simply a defense mechanism that's protecting a much more vulnerable part of you that needs to be taken a stand for, but we're going to move into another way of taking a stand for the vulnerability inside. The second step is to look at what triggered that mean bitch to come up. What triggered the pain inside, in other words? So first we look at why we're actually acting like a bitch, right? It's because, okay, we're protecting something inside. The second thing is to look at what triggered that pain inside. This is going to start to uncover clues and clarity around what's really going on beneath the surface of yourself and your consciousness and your own heart. A few months ago, actually, I was working with a client. This is perfect. She was living with her boyfriend, and basically her boyfriend had given the keys to his mom. So the mom had full access to their home, and she could show up at any time. And this young woman was just like, are you kidding me? Like, when she got down to it, she's a private person. She didn't want that. But she was afraid to speak up to her partner because she was afraid that he would leave her, or she was afraid that it would insult him or hurt him. She is a very nice person. And oftentimes people with the most unconscious kind of bitchiness that comes out, and it seems like a big mood swing, it's because you're typically a people pleaser, or somebody who, I'll speak for myself, I've got the people pleaser major in my life. And when we're programmed to be so nice and to please others, and that pushes the kind of maybe more fierce side of the self, the more empowered self, down. Like, my needs don't matter, I have to please others. That's how the mean bitch also starts to develop and gain momentum inside, in the shadows of our own consciousness. This particular woman was not speaking up. She wasn't even clear of what she needed. She just felt this angst that would keep coming up. And then when we finally looked into it, which was what I'm inviting you to do in this video, she started to discover, yeah, it's not aligned for me that her boyfriend's mom had the key to her house. And so she had to speak up, and she had to have that uncomfortable conversation. So the first thing is to look at why. Why is this in place? Oh, it's not just the mean bitch, which is on the surface. It's really the sense of vulnerability, an unmet need, a sense of powerlessness that's underneath the mean bitch, that's like boiling underneath, and it puts this like defense mechanism in place. And that's all you're really seeing is the mean bitch. But what we're doing now is we're going deeper into the source, or the root of why that's in place in the first place. Then we're looking at the second thing is what. And I would like for you to start, writing down, what is it that has triggered your bitch in the past, the most recent experience that you've had this kind of mean outburst or an attitude issue come up. Start to look at and uncover, what is it that triggered that to come up? Did somebody say something to you? Did you have a negative thought? Did you try on some clothes and they were too tight and suddenly you felt unworthy, like your body's not good enough? These are really subtle things and really important to start to map, so that these unconscious beliefs that are creating the sense of disempowerment are brought out of your head and onto a page, so you can get some altitude, okay? You start to kind of look deeper from this place of neutrality. From that place, from that awake, aware place, you can transform. To me, transformation is the application of love, acceptance, and compassion to pain, to what hurts inside. And what we're doing right now is we're looking at, what is the pain inside? What is that sense of powerlessness? And, the third key now is to look at how. How can I meet my deepest need, okay? How can I meet my deepest need inside? So let's say this particular client came home from work one day and she could see that her mother-in-law was there, or her boyfriend's mom was there, because things were moved around. And it literally created like a shake in her, like shakiness and fear. And she just didn't feel safe. She didn't feel like her space was private. So that's where she started to look at, oh, okay, I came home, this was out of place. Her nervous system started freaking out. She felt unsafe. Her safety was being threatened, okay? It may not seem logical, but when you go down to the root of it, there's a place inside of her that did not feel safe with her mother-in-law or her boyfriend's mother. So she needed to put up those healthy boundaries so that her nervous system could relax. She needed to take the key away from her boyfriend's mother and have a clear conversation whenever she was going to show up, so that her nervous system was prepared for this person to come into her space. So what she discovered is that what she needed inside was that vulnerable child actually inside of her that felt really powerless, and like her voice didn't matter, her needs didn't matter, everyone else matters, but she doesn't matter. That part of her needed love, compassion, and acceptance. Rather than trying to man up and toughen up and be bigger and just deal with it, She was able to become that loving presence, that accepting presence to the part of her that has certain needs. And then she also became a voice for that part of her that didn't have a voice. I want you to imagine a little girl or a little boy. Prior to cognition, we were all unable to speak what we needed. The only way we knew to communicate something was not congruent with what our truth was and what our needs were, was to have a mega temper tantrum, like, rah! That would get us attention and love, typically, sometimes, right? So that same thing is in place for most adults. Most countries, most leaders, most religious leaders, most people are battling from the sense of disempowerment. I'm a 2-year-old and I can't voice what I need to say, and I'm just going to throw a fit, and I'm going to blame the other person, I'm going to throw things, I'm going to fight. That's basically the emotional maturity of our world right now. So what we're doing through these videos and through our own lives is waking up. It's awesome. We wake up together. So, it's the more we can reveal and just go, yeah, I've got that going on in me, the more liberated we are. The more we want to hide and be like, no, that's not me, I'm perfect, is the more that thing is ruling us. To the degree that we're unwilling to reveal the parts of us that we don't like is the degree to which we are in a state of disempowerment and being ruled by criticism, judgment, and ultimately falsehood. So if you want to awaken into true power, it's really about being transparent. The bitch, for example, to really own that there's this super bitchy side. The more we try to repress that side, whether it's the insecure, vulnerable child or the bitch, the more we try to beat those down and repress them or judge them and say, oh my God, I don't want to be bitchy, that's terrible, the more power it gains. My teacher, Leonard Jacobson, says, that which we resist rises up to claim us as its own. That which it just gave me chills. That which we resist rises up to claim us as its own. If we don't own the fact that we're bitchy, and we don't, rather than trying to get rid of it, no, I'm not that, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to medicate it, I'm going to lose this part of me. If we do that on a much deeper level, it literally takes over and strangles our world and starts to lead the show. It's why we see so much pain and suffering in the world. People are just punching and battling and fighting and blaming and not owning up to what's really going on inside. So I honor you because you are already, if you've gotten this far through the video or you're one of the people who sent me a letter, you're already in this place of higher consciousness because you are facing it, you are awake to what's going on, and you're actually willing to find a solution, to find a way through, to step into transformation, which again, transformation is application of love, compassion, and acceptance to pain or the places that hurt, okay, the emotional places that hurt. So some of you might remember, actually, if you go back to my video with Mariana, Queen Mariana, it was a few weeks ago, she talks about, I think the video was called How to Heal Anxiety and Depression or something like that. She talks about this facet of her that she calls Shaniqua. It's like this part of her that just comes out and is just like, has very healthy boundaries, is fierce. I wouldn't say that she's a bitch side of her. It's just this very clear, empowered woman in her that doesn't take any crap. It's really important to have that in place. So when you start to own the bitch inside of you and start to put up healthy boundaries, it will begin to transform from mean bitch to healthy, empowered woman or man. The question is how to come into the state of true power. And this I also learned from my teacher, Leonard Jacobson. True power is the result of knowing what you need, asking for what you need clearly and lovingly, free of attachment. My client a few months ago exemplified this beautifully. She discovered what she needed. She needed her boyfriend's mom not to have a key to the home. She needed sacred privacy in her home. She spoke to him not from this bitch place, but from this genuine, transparent place, vulnerable place of look, this is a difficult conversation for me to have, but I haven't been sharing with you and I wasn't even aware of it myself. I just really discovered that it doesn't work for me that your mom has a key to our home. My nervous system gets shot. I feel uncomfortable. I'm a very private person. I need healthy boundaries in my home. It doesn't feel right that she has a key and that she enters whenever she needs to, that sort of thing. And he was able to receive her because she wasn't battling him or blaming him. She was actually taking responsibility and saying, I'm really sorry that I didn't bring this up earlier. She's like, I just wasn't aware that this was what was going on. And it brought forward this really beautiful connection between them. And the main thing I want you to hear also is that she was not attached. If he were to say, you know what, sorry, but that's just the way things go in my family, she needs to have the key, then she would have, true power is free of attachment, right? So then she has a choice. Do I stay in this or do I move on? But not, do I move on because I hate him? Do I move on because, wow, this just isn't congruent for me. This isn't aligned for me. So when we step into true power, these are the choices we get to make. We get to look at what is your truth? And can you be an advocate of your truth? Can you stand up for your truth? Can you speak up for who you are, what you need, and what is best for you without attacking somebody and without blaming them and without being attached to an outcome? That's a really important piece that takes mastery, is to surrender the outcome. It doesn't make somebody else wrong if they can't please you. And I'll also say, you know, one of the deepest needs that we have inside that's typically unmet, that has created this whole mess to begin with, is that nobody's really present. Our deepest need typically is that we need others to actually be present rather than constantly talking about the future, the past, lost in their own stuff. Just to be here. Just to be out here in nature together, just to be doing something simple, you know, engaging in the moment together. But most people are so lost, you know, in the mind that life takes over and there's just like on the phone and multitasking and the future and the past, and that's the real pain inside. And so oftentimes it's like, God, I just need you to be present with me. And that's a very powerful thing. To clarify when you need your partner, your fiance, your friend, whoever, to be present with you, and just request it. True power, asking for what you want, clearly and lovingly, free of attachment. If they can be present with you and just breathe with you or give you an embrace, great. And if they can't, great. Then it's your job to be that for yourself. And that's the main key here. So the treasure tool is to look at how can you apply the energies of love, compassion, and acceptance to the place inside of you that hurts. Listen to it, and the treasure tool is to literally freeform write from the place of pain inside. And it might start with the bitch, going, I hate this, I hate that, rah, 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 this person, blah, blah, blah. Great, let that all come down. And then once you express that, you'll start to go deeper and you'll notice there's pain inside. There's a sense of powerlessness. And ask the question, what do I need? What is my deepest need that's not being met right now? Because that's at the bottom. That's at the center of that porcupine that's creating that. So we're just getting to the center of it through freeform writing. Then once you discover what that need is, you know, step into that true power and see how you can either supply it for yourself, or if it involves another person, to ask them without blaming them, without an energy of attitude towards them. Just communicate authentically with them and ask them. And if they can't give that to you, find a creative solution for yourself that's in alignment with true power. Ultimately, all of this is to start going deeper. And whenever you feel that mean bitch come up, okay, or that attitude, the key is to open up your journal and just let it all out onto the page. Start expressing, start letting it out rather than dumping it on somebody else, which is false power. Start to dump it into the journal. And now you're going to be able to see it. And if you have judgment come up on what's coming onto the page, that's not going to help anything, okay? So really let go of the judge. Forgive yourself for judging yourself that there's anything wrong with you, because I assure you there's nothing wrong with you. You are a human on a journey, growing in consciousness, expanding in your power, expanding in the truth of who you are. And it takes courage, it takes facing this stuff, and you're amazing for doing that. So start to appreciate that you even have the courage to open up your journal and do what most people are not doing, which is to look deep inside, express from that place, discover what you really need, and then actually ask for it. Now that you're not 2 or 3 years old, you have the words. You have the ability to declare what you need, and also to be the loving presence that you needed your parents to be or somebody else to be. Be that for you. Lastly, this is a side note, but I will tell you from my own journey, I noticed that when I was going through major bitch time, okay, when I was just in this mean bitch mode, it was because I felt so disempowered. It was a financial sense of disempowerment. Several years ago, I went through a total financial deconstruction, and I felt very disempowered, and I felt very afraid. And instead of just being vulnerable and in that place of, wow, I'm depending on my partner to help me financially right now, it's a scary place to be. What if he leaves? What if this? What if that? All those fears that would come up. Rather than looking at them, I noticed that I would lash out on him. And I will just say something I've learned is it is really important as a woman, as a man, as a soul, to find your own financial empowerment. This is just my perspective, but I will say that it is a core thing that we all have the power to discover, even if it's getting a part-time job and having some source of income, so that there isn't this expectation or relying on somebody else to supply everything. Now, if you're a mom, if you are in a situation where you don't have the time to make your own money, I'm not saying this applies to everyone. I'm just saying there might be creative ways to, do what you love and make money doing it. So I'm just putting that out there because in my own self, I never realized how important it was to be financially independent until I became a serious bitch and I got down to the core root of it. And I was like, wow, my soul is asking for me to be financially healthy, empowered, and on my own 2 feet. And so I took several years and I just built and I built and I built and I slow and steady moved towards what I needed to do. Some days I fell, some days were great. But I have to say, it's important to see what is that 5-year plan or what are you seeing in the future and can you move towards that? Whatever that deep need is for you, whether it's to be financially independent or to have a safe home that's, private, or to have your partner be more engaged, more present with you, or especially to have your own participation in accepting and loving yourself, which is the most important, then take a step in that direction. Simple recap, remember the why, what, how method. Why am I being a bitch right now? Oh, that's right, because it's not the bitch, it's actually the pain, the powerlessness, a deep need that's not being met. 2, what is triggering that? That'll start to give you clues as to what that need is inside. What is triggering that? Oh, he said that to me and it triggered me, it made me feel bad. Rather than going into your usual tendencies of battle, that's when you open up your journal and start to clarify, dismantle that bomb. And then you can go out and have a real conversation with whoever it is you feel triggered by. And 3 is how. How are you going to move forward in your life now differently? And take a step in the direction of self-love, self-acceptance, compassion, and that's the root of transformation. Remember, transformation is the application of love, acceptance, and compassion to what hurts. When you can breathe into what hurts, be present with it, and move forward from there, anything is possible in your life, okay? You are a powerful presence and everything you need is right inside of you. If others can't supply you with what you need, consider that a blessing because there's a deeper calling inside that's asking you to be the one you've been waiting for.